At this time, all members and guests in the galleries will please rise as we are led in prayer this afternoon, by the gentleman of the 59th, Doug Kump.
Our eternal Father, who art in heaven, we thy children come before thee this morning to thank thee for all that you have done for all of us, especially the atonement of thy only begotten Son in the flesh. We thank thee also for the duties and responsibilities we have as a citizen of this great nation, and for the founders who were inspired to create our Constitution. We thank thee, Father, for our duties, privileges, and responsibilities to serve in the West Virginia State Legislature. We ask thee, Father, to inspire us to do our civic duty, to be thoughtful and profound. We ask thee to help us to be motivated to be more respectful, to follow strictly the Rule 32 in our guidebook, to not disparage others, and to speak only on issues and principles, however robustly. And these things we ask of thee, and give thee the praise in the name of thy only begotten Son, the Messiah, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All members and guests, please remain standing as we are led in the Pledge of Allegiance today by the gentleman, the 22nd, Doug Jeffries.
Everyone, please join me in reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All members and guests may be seated. Reading of the Journal.
Journal of the House of Delegates, Charleston, Wednesday, June 19, 2019.
Chair recognizes the gentleman of the 45th, Doug Martin.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as being read.
The gentleman of the 45th asks unanimous consent that further reading of the journal be dispensed with and it be approved as having been read. Are there objections? Chair hears no objections, so approved. Introduction of guests. Introduction of guests. The gentleman of the 66th, Doug Espinoza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of my colleagues, Delegates Brown and Delegate Doyle, pleased to recognize in the West Gallery members of the Jefferson County District 6 Champion Little League team that are here in Charleston participating in the state tournament. I would ask them to please stand along with their parents, family members. Will the House please make them welcome?
Are there further introduction of guests? If not, report to standing committees.
Your Joint Committee on Enrolled Bills has examined, found truly enrolled, and on June 25, 2019, presented to His Excellency the Governor for his action, House Bill 118, relating to the use of post-criminal conduct in professional and occupational initial licensure decision-making.
Report to be received.
Your Joint Committee on Enrolled Bills has examined, found truly enrolled, and on June 28th presented to His Excellency the Governor for his action, House Bill 144, West Virginia Business Ready Sites Program, House Bill 148, making a supplementary appropriation to the Executive Governor's Office, House Bill 149, making a supplementary appropriation to the Executive Governor's Office Civil Contingent Fund, House Bill 150, making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Revenue, Office of the Secretary, Home Rule Board Operations Fund, House Bill 151, making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Arts, Culture, and History, Division of Culture and History, Lottery Education Fund, House Bill 113, establishing tax incentive for new business activity in qualified opportunity zones, House Bill 152, making a supplementary appropriation by adding a new item and increasing the expenditure to the Department of Revenue State Budget Office, House Bill 153, making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Health and Human Resources, Division of Health Central Office, House Bill 154, making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Transportation, Division of Highways. Committee substitute for House Bill 155, supplementing, amending, and increasing an item from the State Road Fund to the Department of Transportation, Division of Highways. House Bill 156, making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Environmental Protection, Division of Environmental Protection. House Bill 157, making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Military Affairs and Public Safety, Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. House Bill 146, establishing and funding of substance use disorder treatment and recovery facilities. House Bill 206, relating to public education. Senate Bill 1015, supplemental appropriation to Secretary of State General Administrative Fees account. Senate Bill 1017, supplemental appropriation to Department of Arts, Culture, and History, Educational Broadcasting Authority. Senate Bill 1020, supplementing and amending Chapter 31, Acts of the Legislature 2019, known as Budget Bill. Senate Bill 1021, decreasing existing appropriation and adding appropriation to Department of Veterans Assistance. Senate Bill 1023, supplementing, amending, increasing, and adding items of appropriations to Attorney General Consolidated Federal Fund. Senate Bill 1024, supplemental appropriation to Department of Agriculture Capital Improvements Fund. Senate Bill 1025, supplemental appropriation to DHHR, Division of Human Services for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019. Senate Bill 1027, adding new items and increasing existing items to various accounts. And Senate Bill 1038, supplemental appropriation to DHHR, Division of Health Central Office.
Report to be received. Are there further reports to standing committees? If not, report to select committees. Messages from the executive.
I, Jim Justice, by virtue of the authority vested in the governor by Section 7, Article 7 of the Constitution of West Virginia, do hereby amend the proclamation dated the 7th day of March, 2019, calling the West Virginia Legislature to convene an extraordinary session upon adjournment sine die of the 2019 regular session and amended by subsequent proclamation dated the 17th day of May 2019 and amended by subsequent proclamation dated the 20th day of May 2019 and amended by subsequent proclamation dated the 31st day of May 2019 and amended by subsequent proclamation dated the 14th day of June 2019 by adding items 47 through 50 as follows. 47th, a bill to exempt from the business and occupation tax certain merchant power plants, and 48th, a bill relating to residency requirements for licenses issued by the West Virginia Alcohol Beverage Control Administration, West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources, and West Virginia Lottery Commission. And 49th, a resolution relating to the issuance of state road bonds authorized to be issued for fiscal years ending June 30th, 2019 and June 30th, 2020, in conjunction with the Roads to Prosperity Amendment of 2017. And 50, a resolution related to the issuance of state road bonds authorized to be issued for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021, in conjunction with the Roads to Prosperity Amendment of 2017, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seal of the state of West Virginia to be affixed. Jim Justice, Governor.
Message to be received. Lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move, subject to announcements, that we recess until 1:15 this afternoon.
The lady from the 49th moves that, subject to announcements, the House stand in recess until 1:15 this afternoon. Are there announcements? The gentleman from the 28th, Doug Pack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Republican members of the House will caucus here in the chamber immediately upon our recess.
The gentleman from the 50th, Doug Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Democratic members of the House will caucus immediately upon recess in the House Gov Org Committee room. Immediately upon recess.
The gentleman, the 16th, Doug Linville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. By way of announcement, on behalf of the Herschel Woody Williams Medal of Honor Foundation, all members are invited and encouraged to attend the groundbreaking of the Gold Star Family Memorial Monument this Saturday, July 27, 2019 at 11 a.m. here on the Capitol grounds. Thank you.
Are there further announcements? If not, the question before the House is a motion that the House stand in recess until 1:15 this afternoon. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed will say no. Ayes have it. Chair declares the House in recess until 1:15 this afternoon. The House will please be in order. Those not having the privilege of the floor will please vacate the chamber at this time. Are there further messages from the executive?
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Hanshaw presents a communication from His Excellency the Governor advising that on June 25, 2019, he approved House Bill 118. On June 28, 2019, he approved House Bill 113, House Bill 118, House Bill 144, House Bill 146, House Bill 148, House Bill 149, House Bill 150, House Bill 151, House Bill 152, House Bill 153, House Bill 154, Committee Substitute for House Bill 155, House Bill 156, House Bill 157, House Bill 206, Senate Bill 1015, Senate Bill 1017, Senate Bill 1020, Senate Bill 1021, Senate Bill 1023, Senate Bill 1024, Senate Bill 1025, Senate Bill 1027, and Senate Bill 1038.
Message to be received. Are there further messages from the executive? If not, message from the Senate.
The Senate has passed with amendment to take effect for passage House Bill 132, supplementing and amending existing items of appropriations to the Department of Agriculture.
Message to be received. Lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 132, the purpose of this bill was transfer the funding to conduct testing of milk from DHHR to the Department of Agriculture. The Senate amendment changed the amount of the transfer in the line for current expenses from $38,600 to $406,155. This amount is more accurate to the actual cost of the administration of the milk inspection program. This change was made in consultation with the Department of Health and Human Resources and the Department of Agriculture and the Governor's Office. This is not a new expenditure, but a transfer from DHHR to the Department of Agriculture. I move we concur with the Senate amendment.
The lady from the 49th moves that the House concur in the Senate amendments to House Bill 132. Is there discussion? Is there discussion? If not, those in favor of the lady's motion will say aye. Any opposed will say no. Ayes have it. Chair declares the motion adopted. Question before the House is the passage of the bill as amended by the Senate. Is there discussion on the bill as amended by the Senate? The gentleman the first, Doug McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Majority Leader please rise for a question?
Yes.
Is there any increased funding with the change from DHHR to the Department of Agriculture?
There is not. It's only
Okay.
a transfer.
All right, thank you.
Are there other members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 87 ayes, 0 nays, 13 members absent not voting. Majority of members elected having voted in the affirmative. Chair declares the bill passed. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill be effective from passage.
The lady from the 49th moves that the bill be made effective from passage. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 87 ayes, 0 nays, 13 members absent not voting. 2/3 of members elected having voted in the affirmative. Chair declares the motion adopted. Bill will be effective from passage. Clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 132.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next message from the Senate.
The Senate has passed with amendment Committee Substitute for House Bill 193 relating to statewide school personnel job bank.
Message will be received. Lady from the 49th.
The purpose of this bill requires the State Board of Education to create a job bank for available professional positions with a total compensation statement. The Senate amendment makes technical changes throughout the bill and removes language the Department of Education felt was confusing. The changes do not subvert the intent of the legislation. Therefore, I move we concur with the Senate amendment.
The lady from the 49th moves that the House concur in the Senate amendments to committee substitute for House Bill 193. Is there discussion? Is there discussion? If not, those in favor of the lady's motion will say aye. Any opposed will say no. The ayes have it. Chair declares the motion adopted. The question before the House now is the passage of the bill as amended by the Senate. Is there discussion on the passage of the bill as amended by the Senate? If not, those in favor of passage will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 89 ayes, 0 nays, 11 members absent not voting. Majority of members elected having voted in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 193.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next message from the Senate.
The Senate has passed. The Senate has passed Senate Bill 1056, supplementing and amending items of appropriation to the State Board of Education state aids to schools.
Message to be received. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that reference of the bill to a committee be dispensed with and it be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time.
The lady from the 49th asks unanimous consent that the committee reference for Senate Bill 1056 be dispensed with, that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time. Are there objections? Chair hears no objections. The clerk will read the bill a first time.
Senate Bill 1056.
The lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the constitutional rule requiring a bill to be read on 3 separate days be dispensed with and the bill be read a second and third time.
Bill to be advanced to second reading. The lady from the 49th moves that the constitutional rule requiring the bill be read on 3 separate days be dispensed with, that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and read a second and third time. Those in favor of the lady's motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 88 ayes, 1 nay, 11 members absent not voting, 4/5 of members present and voting having voted in the affirmative. The chair declares the motion adopted. Clerk will read the bill a second time.
Senate Bill 1056.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced to third reading. Clerk will read the bill a third time.
Senate Bill 1056.
The gentleman from the 64th, Douglas Householder, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Senate Bill 1056 supplements and amends the state school aid formula to cover the provisions of House Bill 206. In total, it adds an additional $60,765,628 to the school aid formula. Included in this supplemental is new funding for math and special ed teacher pay schedule bump, increased capacity for additional student support staff to provide wraparound services. There is assistance for counties with fewer than 1,400 student enrollment. There's additional funding for current expenses in the formula, and an additional $200 per teacher per year, which they can use on academic materials, supplies, and equipment. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are the members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? The gentleman the first, Douglas McGeehan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. $67 million in increased spending. We really got to watch what we're spending down here. These surpluses that we have seen come in are simply unsustainable. And we keep tacking on one expense after the next. We're supposed to be fiscally conservative. We're supposed to be fiscally responsible. 2 years ago, we passed a budget that was a hair over $4 billion. Now, I believe total spending, including all the supplementals we've passed, is $4.7 billion. So $700 million in increased spending in a 2-year period. I find that just, it's so shocking to me, and it shouldn't be, because all of us preach smaller government here on the right side. Yet we haven't seen objectively any smaller government, fiscally speaking. If anything, we have drastically increased spending and bloated the general revenue budget since 2015 when Republicans took control of this chamber. The surpluses we are seeing come in right now are unsustainable. If you look at monetary policy, if you look at the uncertainties in the markets, God help us if the economy implodes towards the end of the year. It's going to happen. It's inevitable at some point. So we better watch our finances. We cannot continue to come in here and spend and spend and spend and not worry about the long term. Mark my words, when the economy does collapse, it's going to have grave effects on West Virginia. And I don't want to hear anybody on this side of the chamber coming and saying, now we have to increase taxation. So I urge a no vote.
Are there other members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 84 ayes, 5 nays, 11 members absent not voting. A majority of members elected having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 1056.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read by the clerk. Will be and remain the title of the bill. The lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill be made effective from passage.
The lady from the 49th moves that the bill be made effective from passage. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 88 ayes, 1 nay, 11 members absent not voting, 2/3 of members elected having voted in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill effective for passage. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next message from the Senate.
The Senate has passed Senate Bill 1057, supplementing and amending items of appropriation to the State Board of Education.
Message will be received. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that reference of the bill to a committee be dispensed with and it be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time.
The lady from the 49th asks unanimous consent that the committee reference for Senate Bill 1057 be dispensed with and the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time. Are there objections? Chair hears no objections. The clerk will read the bill a first time.
Senate Bill 1057.
Bill to be advanced to second reading. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the constitutional rule requiring a bill be read on 3 separate days be dispensed with and the bill be read a second and third time.
The lady from the 49th moves that the constitutional rule requiring the bill be read on 3 separate days be dispensed with and the bill be taken up for immediate consideration, read a second and third time, and put upon its passage. Those in favor of the lady's motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 88 ayes, 1 nay, 11 members absent not voting, 4/5 of members present and voting having voted in the affirmative. The chair declares the motion adopted. Clerk will read the bill a second time.
Senate Bill 1057.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced to third reading. Clerk will read the bill a third time.
Senate Bill 1057.
The gentleman from the 10th, Dr. Chris, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, everybody. This supplemental appropriation adds $2,056,717 to the Department of Education's appropriations for fiscal year 20 for the purpose of funding the attendance incentive bonus created in House Bill 206. Mr. Speaker, I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are the members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, those in favor of passage will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 86 ayes, 3 nays, 11 members absent not voting. Majority of members elected having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 1057.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be entered the title of the bill. The lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill be made effective from passage.
The lady from the 49th moves that the bill be made effective from passage. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 88 ayes, 1 nay, 11 members absent not voting, 2/3 of members elected having voted in the affirmative. Chair declares the bill effective for passage. The clerk will please communicate the action to the House and the Senate. Next Senate message.
The Senate has passed Senate Bill 1058, supplementing and amending item of appropriation to Higher Education Policy Commission.
Message to be received. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that reference of the bill to a committee be dispensed with and it be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time.
The lady from the 49th asks unanimous consent that the committee reference to Senate Bill 1058 be dispensed with, that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time. Are there objections? Are there objections? Chair hears no objections. Clerk will read the bill a first time.
Senate Bill 1058.
Bill to be advanced to second reading. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the constitutional rule requiring a bill be read on 3 separate days be dispensed with and the bill be read a second and a third time.
Lady from the 49th moves that the constitutional rule requiring that the bill be read on 3 separate days be dispensed with, that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration, read a second and third time, put upon its passage. Those in favor of the lady's motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 88 ayes, 1 nay, 11 members absent not voting, 4/5 of members present and voting having voted in the affirmative. The chair declares the motion adopted. The clerk will read the bill a second time.
Senate Bill 1058.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced to third reading. Clerk will read the bill a third time.
Senate Bill 1058.
The gentleman of the 10th, Chris, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The supplemental adds $300,000 to the Higher Education Policy Commission appropriation for the Underwood Smith Teaching Scholarships for fiscal year 20. This scholarship program was revised into House Bill 206 and will now enable the Higher Education Policy Commission to offer an additional 25 $10,000 scholarships annually. Mr. Speaker, I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, those in favor of passage will vote aye. Those opposed vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 86 ayes, 3 nays, 11 members absent not voting. Majority of members elected having voted in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 1058.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be entered the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill be made effective from passage.
The lady from the 49th moves that the bill be made effective from passage. Those in favor of the lady's motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 87 ayes, 2 nays, 11 members absent not voting, 2/3 of members elected having voted in the affirmative. Chair declares the bill effective from passage. The clerk will please communicate the action to the House to the Senate. Next message from the Senate.
The Senate has passed the following bills without amendment. House Bill 113, establishing tax incentive for new business activity in qualified opportunity zones. House Bill 144, West Virginia Business Ready Sites Program. House Bill 146, establishing and funding of substance use disorder treatment and recovery facilities. House Bill 148, making a supplementary appropriation to the Executive Governor's Office. House Bill 149, making a supplementary appropriation to the Executive Governor's Office Civil Contingent Fund. House Bill 150, making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Revenue Office of the Secretary Home Rule Board Operations Fund. House Bill 151, making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Arts, Culture and History, Division of Culture and History, Lottery Education Fund. House Bill 152, making a supplementary appropriation by adding a new item and increasing the expenditure to the Department of Revenue State Budget Office, House Bill 153, making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Health and Human Resources, Division of Health Central Office, House Bill 154, making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Transportation, Division of Highways, Committee Substitute for House Bill 155, supplementing, amending, and increasing an item from the State Road Fund to the Department of Transportation, Division of Highways, House Bill 156, making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Environmental Protection, Division of Environmental Protection, House Bill 157, making a supplementary appropriation to the Department of Military Affairs and Public Safety, Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, and House Bill 206 relating to public education.
Measure to be received.
The Senate has concurred in the House amendment and passed Senate Bill 1027, adding a new items and increasing existing items to various accounts.
Messages to be received. Are there further Senate messages? If not, resolutions.
Pursuant to House, the following resolutions are introduced pursuant to House Rule 109. House Concurrent Resolution 104, providing for the issuance of not to exceed $600 million of bonds pursuant to the Roads to Prosperity Amendment of 2017.
Lady in the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that reference to a committee be dispensed with and the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration and put upon its adoption.
Lady in the 49th, ask unanimous consent that the committee reference to House Concurrent Resolution 104 be dispensed with, that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration and put upon its adoption. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. Clerk will read the resolution.
House Concurrent Resolution 104.
Are there amendments to the resolution? Are there amendments to the resolution? Are there amendments to the resolution? If not, is there discussion on the resolution? The Chairman of the 30th, Doug Bates.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With the Chairman of Finance. Yes, thank you, sir. We've not had a lot of opportunity to review this, and I just want to be clear about what we're doing here. I'm looking on page 1, line 5 and 6. And the language there says this is $600 million in bonds authorizing the sale of. And the language there says during the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020, which includes $400 million authorized to be issued in the fiscal year June 2019, but not issued. So have we previously, I read that as saying that this legislature did pass a resolution authorizing the issuance of those bonds, and the executive has not acted on that. Is that the way you read that?
No, sir, that's not correct. We authorized the first $800 million. Back on, let's see, it's on December 4th, 2017, the legislature enacted enrolled Senate Bill 3001. In the language in the bill, it has July 1, 2018, an amount not to exceed $400 million. So technically by June 30th, 2019, is when we should authorize the governor to issue those bonds. And then it also goes on to say July 1, 2019, an amount not to exceed $200 million, which in theory is June 30th, 2020. So we're giving the governor the ability to authorize and issue both bonds, $400 million and $200 million, so with this House concurrent resolution.
So there has not been any bonds issued to this point. Is that what you're saying?
No. 800 originally has been let out back on May of 22nd, 2018. It was May 22nd, 2018. They issued $167 million, and then May 23rd, they did the remaining amount.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm still
the total
following
amount
you.
was $800 million so far. Remember, the voters passed a total bond improvement of $1.6 billion.
Yes.
We've let out $800 million so far.
So that's already gone.
That's correct.
But the $400 million that was to be issued was authorized and to be issued ending this fiscal year has not been issued. Is that
That's correct. June 30th, 2019. That's why we have this House Concurrent Resolution 104 to do that.
So there's $400 that
400
hasn't.
million. 400 million.
So
it has.
400 million that hasn't gone out that we previously said you go do this.
That's correct.
And that hasn't happened.
That's correct. That's what this resolution is authorizing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Are there other members who wish to speak to the passage of the resolution? If not, the question for the House is the adoption of the resolution. Those in favor of adopting the resolution will say aye. Any opposed will say no. Ayes have it. Chair declares the resolution adopted. Further resolutions?
House Concurrent Resolution 105, providing for the issuance of not to exceed $200 million of bonds after July 1, 2020, pursuant to the Roads to Prosperity Amendment of 2017.
Laid in the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent the reference to a committee be dispensed with and that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration and put upon its adoption.
The lady in the 49th asks unanimous consent that a committee reference to House Concurrent Resolution 105 be dispensed with and that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration and put upon its adoption. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. Clerk will read the resolution.
House Concurrent Resolution 105.
Are there amendments to the resolution? Are there amendments to the resolution? If not, is there discussion on the resolution? The gentleman, the 30th, Doug Bates.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you would again, sir, thank you. Now, I'm looking at this resolution, and it's talking about fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. What's the necessity of this body taking action on this at this time?
The attractive interest rates right now.
Okay. So we're going to get a market here with another $800 million worth of bonds.
No, with both of these resolutions, it would be a total of $800 million. But keep in mind, we're authorizing the governor. The governor could do this a week from now. The governor could do this 2 months from now. The governor could do this 4 months from now. They've already told us in several meetings that it would probably be until October before they could get these fully issued. But not the final 200.
So the final 200 won't go out until
June 30th, 2021. Yes.
So the market conditions at this point doesn't really impact.
I'm sorry, July 1, 2020.
Yes, I see that now. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Are there other members who wish to speak to the adoption of the resolution? The gentleman, 36, Doggett Road.
If the gentleman would answer a question.
Yes.
As I understand it, this is going to authorize the sale of bonds. Does it also authorize earlier use of those funds?
I would agree, yes. If the projects are prepared, if they're ready, yes, the governor would have that complete authority. And we did that in Senate Bill 3001 back in 2017.
So there was nothing in the original amendment that the voters approved that had time limits or times whenever the monies would be let out. Is that right?
Well, in Senate Bill 3001, what the voters saw was on July 1, 2017, an amount not to exceed $800 million. July 1, 2018, an amount not to exceed $400 million. July 1, 2019, an amount not to exceed $200 million. And then July 1, 2020, an amount not to exceed $200 million, which equals $1.6 billion.
Okay, but that's authority to sell bonds. I'm just wondering if there was anything in that amendment or in the original authorizing statute that set out times when the money would be expended, if that was stepped out.
No, it was never addressed that way, no.
Thanks, sir.
Are there other members who wish to speak to the adoption of the resolution? If not, the question before the House is the adoption of the resolution. Those in favor of the resolution will say aye. Those opposed will say no. Ayes appear to have it. Ayes do have it. Chair declares the resolution adopted. Are there further resolutions? If not, petitions, motions, bills introduced.
The following bills are introduced pursuant to House Rule 92. House Bill 207, exempting from business and occupation tax certain merchant power plants.
Lady in the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time prior to committee reference.
Lady in the 49th asks unanimous consent that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time prior to its committee reference. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. Clerk will read the bill the first time.
House Bill 207.
Bill to be referred to the Committee on Finance. Further bills introduced.
House Bill 208 relating to residency, manager, and licensure requirements for West Virginia Alcohol Beverage Control Administration applicants and licensees.
The lady in the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that reference of the bill to a committee be dispensed with and the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time prior to its committee reference.
Lady in the 49th asked unanimous consent that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time prior to its reference to a committee. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. Clerk will read the bill the first time.
House Bill 208.
Bill will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Further bills introduced.
House Bill 209 providing that work performed for recovery from a declared state of disaster or emergency is subject to competitive bidding.
Lady in the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time prior to its committee reference.
Lady in the 49th asked unanimous consent that the committee reference to, or that House Bill 2009 be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time prior to its committee reference. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. Clerk will read the bill the first time.
House Bill 209.
Bill will be referred to the Committee on Judiciary. Further bills introduced.
House Bill 210 supplementing and amending items of appropriation to Auditor's Office General Administration.
Lady in the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time prior to its committee reference.
Lady in the 49th asked unanimous consent that House Bill 210 be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time prior to its committee reference. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. Clerk will read the bill the first time.
House Bill 210.
Bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance. Are there further bills introduced? If not, unfinished business, bills on third reading, bills on second reading, bills on first reading, leaves of absence. Lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For our colleagues, Delegate Boggs, Butler, Evans, Fluharty, Foster, Hamrick, Harshbarger, Robinson, Tomlin, Walker, and Worrell.
Are there objections to leaves being granted? Chair hears no objections. Leaves will be granted. Remarks, members of the House. The gentleman of the 59th, Dr. Kump.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg your indulgence for all of you for the things that I'm going to share with you. I know time is of the essence. I come here today and tomorrow, I suppose, also somewhat under duress. I stand before you as a modern-day Lazarus, and I thank you for your faith and prayers during my recent illness, during the last regular session. As some of you know, I had a pretty large stroke, came back to work here the same day, shrugged it off, had another stroke on the second day. They took me to the hospital. That night, as the surgeon prepared for the surgery, he told my wife that my chances of survival were very, very poor. At best, I'd be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. The surgeon, Dr. Musa, who's a vascular surgeon in this area, is a Christian Egyptian member of the Coptic Church. He said he prayed before the surgery and prayed during the surgery, and afterwards he said, "I'm a really good surgeon, but I'm not that good." I stand before you now in as perfect health as a man of my age can be and feeling great. But the reason for my reluctance to be here today, and I thank you for your prayers. I could feel the power of them. But I stand here reluctantly before you today. I'd rather not be here. My wife, my beloved wife Cheryl, and I, about 2 weeks ago, took into her home to be permanent residents her grandmother, her niece, who's 15 months old, and her nephew, who's 15 years old. They lost their home in Cleveland, and we took them into our home. It's been a challenging experience, but it's been a grateful experience for me. However, last Saturday night, my wife collapsed as she was running an errand. She was taken to the emergency room. She's had 4 surgeries since our marriage last August. She was recuperating from this last surgery, which was just last Wednesday, but she came down with a secondary disease. She's now hospitalized in intensive care in an isolation ward because she's very, very contagious. I ask you for your faith and prayers on her behalf. I'm down here reluctantly. She insisted I be down here because I can't be in the room with her. I can only sit outside of the hall. Friends and family are helping with our new family, and they're fine. But again, I ask you for your faith and prayers. Thank you.
The gentleman from the 16th, Dr. Linville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that the remarks by my friend, the gentleman from the 59th, be added to the appendix of the journal.
Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. The gentleman from the 27th, Dr. Porterfield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to just make an announcement that the senator from the 9th District is here with us today. I'd like to ask Senator Roland Roberts, if he would, to please stand in the House to make him welcome, if he's still here. Thank you for being here. And I'd also like to recognize in the gallery a group of young men from Pensacola Christian College. Some from their school have worked with me as interns in the work that I do, and they were with Brother Roberts last night, and we'll be traveling to North Carolina today. They sing and travel all over the country, and their school just does an impeccable job with what they do. Would you please make the group from Pensacola Christian College and our gallery feel welcome? Thank you.
The gentleman from the 10th, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the year 1907, Robert Baden-Powell created the Boy Scouts. In 1910, W.D. Boyce brought the Boy Scouts to the USA. 110 million boys and girls at some time in their life has been touched by the Boy Scouts. Currently, the program has 2.3 million boys and girls now in the United States in the program. In 1920, Lord Baden-Powell had a world jamboree at Brownsea Island in England. The attendance was 8,000 people, boys and girls, from 34 countries. Today marks the first day of the 24th World Jamboree. What is happening in Fayette County, West Virginia. It's the second time in our country's history that we have had the World Jamboree. I've been touched by the World Jamboree because my brother went to the 13th World Jamboree in Japan at the foot of Mount Fuji Mountain. They promote patriotism, courage, self-reliance, and kindred values. At the 10,600-acre site in Fayette County, 50,000 scouts representing more than 150 countries will be with us for the next 2 weeks. And I understand that there are state dignitaries from Spain and state dignitaries from the Republic of Russia that may be with us. So just to inform you that for the next 2 weeks, Fayette County population will be increased by 50,000 people. Thank you for your indulgence.
Introduction to guests. Introduction to guests. Miscellaneous business. Miscellaneous business. If none, lady from the 49th for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move subject to announcement that the House adjourn until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.
The lady from the 49th moves that subject to announcements, the House stand adjourned until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Are there announcements? The gentleman, the 27th, Doug Schott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on the Judiciary will meet in 10 minutes following adjournment in the Judiciary Committee room. The matters to be taken up are House Bill 208 and 209, and the agenda will also be posted. Thank you.
The gentleman, the 10th, Doug Chris.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Finance will meet at 3 o'clock. The agenda will be posted.
The gentleman, the 50th, Doug Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd just like to announce that today is Delegate Hanson's birthday, and I'd like the House to give him a round of applause.
Are there further announcements? If not, the question before the House is a motion by the lady from the 49th that the House stand adjourned until 9 a.m. tomorrow. Those in favor will say aye. Any opposed will say no. Ayes have it. Chair declares the House adjourned until 9 a.m. tomorrow.